Greetings, everyone. I'm Jed Schlackman. I work as a holistic counselor as well as a hypnotherapist and energy healer. I'm also an author, and today I'll be reading a chapter from the book Consciousness, Creation, and Existence, A Guide to the Grand Adventure. The chapter that we're going through now is chapter 4, and this chapter covers the topic of the power of beliefs. It begins with a quote from the Handbook for the New Paradigm, Volume 2, which states, "Unfortunately, the new cannot superimpose itself over the top of the present firmly held belief systems." The power of beliefs. Our own beliefs and ability to transcend our ordinary human mode of perception influence to what extent we can actually create seemingly miraculous phenomena in the physical world. If we believe in the illusion of materialism and separation, then we generate patterns of consciousness and energy, intentions and attraction that affirm those beliefs in our external experience. The entity referring to itself as Seth, channeled by Jane Roberts and quoted in her popular books, reported that beliefs are primary in generating imagination and feelings, which direct the energies which bring to form the reality that an individual or group experiences. Thus, if you desire for your experience to change, you would be encouraged to examine and transform your beliefs. Those who say, "I'll believe it when I see it," are least likely to ever see it. At minimum, it is advisable to keep one's mind open to possibilities. If you have little experience or information from which to base a belief, then why believe anything? Beliefs are inherently limiting and are best held tentatively until you get to a state approximating knowing. Whatever you may believe about anything comes from a limited perspective. Our beliefs create limiting parameters for our intentions. One major limiting belief is the belief in quote-unquote good and quote-unquote bad. Once you believe anything is good or bad, then you will form intentions to pursue the good and avoid the bad, thereby giving those external phenomena power over you. Remember, what you resist persists. Suppose, for the purpose of exploring this process, that you identify with a belief that smoking is bad, or a belief that adultery is sin. These are common beliefs that don't really seem troublesome upon the surface of things. Yet we attach to all kinds of beliefs that hinder our spiritual potential and limit our ability to co-create our life. And I encourage you to look at all your beliefs, even ones that seem appropriate and benign. Ask yourself, how is smoking bad? Why do I have that belief? You will probably bring to mind that humans have discovered that their bodies often display some form of deterioration in response to exposure to cigarette smoke. You may also consider that smokers usually experience a pleasing sensation when they smoke and an unpleasant sensation if they fail to satisfy the craving for that sensation. They don't really crave the smoking, but they crave the sensation that is associated with the smoking. Think of behavioral conditioning, where Pavlov got his hungry dogs to salivate to a bell associated with food. Unless you've had a pleasant experience or sensation when you smoked, you'll never crave cigarettes. This is considered to be a dependency or addiction, which we tend to perceive as bad, even though anyone who has an addiction or dependency ultimately evolves from the experience. So the existing program for human body function doesn't appear to be adapted to handle cigarette smoke, and smokers tend to have a dependency on cigarettes to maintain a desirable mental or emotional state. Can you consider this in a neutral manner? Let go of any value judgment and just recognize what exists. Notice that many people form smoking habits associated with various psychological patterns, with some recognizing the physical hazard and psychological dependency and choosing to change their pattern and quit smoking. If there were no cigarettes or smoking, could these people have that experience of overcoming a limiting habit? So was the smoking good, bad, both, or neither? How about all of the above, depending upon the aspect or level of self from which the judgment or observation is made? What you see depends upon your point of view, and since you exist and have a point of view, then your perspective is useful and valid in helping your awareness evolve through the feedback of experience. There can be no gaining of knowledge without ignorance. Yet people label ignorance as bad and knowledge as good, since they are judging from their limited viewpoint rather than from the recognition of the wholeness of creation. Good and bad represent judgments, while an expanded perspective is needed to consider that limited perspectives offer polarized judgments that represent no ultimate truth. Similarly, in the example of adultery as sin, sin can be recognized as existing only in the beliefs of a being who has identified with certain values. Adultery is an experience that all involved may learn from as they grow to have more balanced intentions. So if the experience labeled adultery has occurred, then any judgment-based beliefs about this generate limiting intentions. If you feel you are a victim of adultery, then you may harbor an intention to punish the perceived perpetrator. You may also generate self-esteem issues from this if you have beliefs about the perpetrator's actions being in any way a reflection of your own worth or desirability. If you are the one who is engaged in the behavior defined as adultery, then you may have feelings of guilt and intentions for self-punishment if you have the belief that adultery is sin. If you are the adulterer and believe that whatever you do should be for your own pleasure, regardless of how it may affect others, then your intentions would be limited to considering only your illusory self rather than considering the desires of yourself and others. Imbalanced intentions generate imbalanced circumstances, not that imbalance is bad. Think about beliefs people have about relationships. Some people believe that it's normal or ideal to have a lifelong marriage. Others believe that marriage is restrictive and encumbering. Ultimately, we can set intentions to have whatever types of relationships we feel suit us. None are wrong or right, bad or good, other than in our own limited belief systems. So for those who choose to work on maintaining a lifelong partnership, that is the experience they are choosing by intent, an intent that is shaped by whatever beliefs and values those involved have identified with. The relationship will likely work well if these people have and maintain compatible intentions. Of course, we see in society that many people start out in a marital relationship with a declared intention that dissipates or gets canceled out by other intentions. Life is always in transformation, so it can't be expected that everyone will have the same patterns of relationships. There is no right or wrong about this, just varying patterns as individual and collective intentions evolve. With any lifestyle people prefer, there may be others who disapprove of that lifestyle. The reasons for such disapproval result from the persons presenting their judgment having differing beliefs and values from the ones underlying the lifestyles they judge. While we can consider the implications of patterns of living, we can't realistically expect to impose our own values and ideals on others. We may know that some activities are disruptive to physical, emotional, or societal well-being, but there are other persons who need to have those experiences to help them learn about life and clarify their own intentions. We can certainly assert our own rights to exercise our values and beliefs, but we are unwise if we fail to recognize that uniformity stifles creativity and transformative growth. Creation needs all the diverse expressions of consciousness to be manifest. As above, so below, as within, so without, is the perennial principle reiterated in the Bible and other texts. Whatever we see in the external perceived world is a reflection of a pattern of consciousness in the internal unseen realm of being. We can choose to resist what exists, or we can choose to observe and learn from that which we perceive reflected in our environment. Resistance fosters separation and restriction of the flow of energy, while accepting the opportunity to expand our perspective and learn more about self allows one to be more open to this flow of energy and to become more integrated and empowered. This concludes Chapter 4. I appreciate you for taking your time to view and listen to this chapter. For those that are interested in the book, the title is Consciousness, Creation, and Existence, A Guide to the Grand Adventure. And you can find the book in both hard copy and ebook formats on Amazon. For those interested in holistic health and personal development, I invite you to visit my website, phinsights.com. That's phinsights.com. For now, I wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.